If you are someone who spends your life chained to that desk, those chronic work postures, that computer work, question that often comes up is, well, I know sitting's bad for me, then I'm going to switch to standing. Is that better? The answer may actually surprise you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly, based on the science, based on what's actually happening to the disc, what happens in the difference between sitting and standing, a variety of different positions. This could be a game changer for you. A lot of people live with some serious back pain, neck pain, etc., because of them sitting in front of that desk or computer. If you consider the amount of time you do that over the course of your lifetime, please stay to the end where we're going to give you a special bonus that will show you exactly how your ergonomic setup should be. Hi, I'm Dr. John Zielonka. I'm a neurofunctional chiropractor in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I've been practicing for almost 35 years. I've laid my hands on people's spines hundreds of thousands of times. My YouTube channel is focused on helping those living with serious, debilitating back pain and neck pain finally find a solution to their problems. Before we go any further, I'd like you to smash that subscribe button if you want to hear more tips and strategies on how to deal with this chronic back pain. Not give up hope. There are solutions, there are answers. Please also like this, share this, and comment as well. So instead of just giving you an opinion on whether standing or sitting is better, let's talk the actual science. And what we want to talk about is when we're standing, when we're sitting, how much pressure are we actually putting on the disc? The disc is that cushion that sits in between the vertebrae. It provides support. It allows that cushion. The biggest thing it does is it allows space for the nerve to come out. And remember, those nerves are how your brain communicates with everything else in the body. So let's see, based on the science, exactly how much pressure is coming on that disc in the different positions that people experience through their day. So let's take a look at the chart that we're going to put up on the screen for you here. If we assign a pressure of 100 when we're in a standing position across the entire disc, then when we're standing, that's 100. What does that move to when we go into a seated position? You can see on the chart, we now go from 100 to 140. So 40% higher pressure on that disc when we're in a seated position. So you would then think, well, then that's simple. Let's just stand and let's not sit anymore. Well, it gets a little more complicated than that because there are a number of other factors that then come into play as well. But let's follow through this as well. So if standing is assigned a value of 100, sitting is assigned a value of 140. But now what comes important and why we're at it is lying flat on your back then is assigned a value of 25 based on the comparison, based on the science. So if you were able to lie flat on your back through your entire workday, that would be the least amount of pressure on this disc. That's actually, they say the ultimate position for ergonomic work is actually an astronaut who actually sits on their back with their legs up. You're not about to put your computer screen on your ceiling. So now if we have 100 for standing, 140 when we're in that seated position, only 25 when we're actually lying flat on our back. Now here's where it becomes a little more complicated. It's not just the pressure across the disc. Understand that's assuming that the vertebrae are in their proper alignment. What happens is far too many people will tend to slouch forward. So when you're slouching forward, you are compressing the front of the disc. And if you can see, the disc now is going to bulge out the back. That creates a significant problem. And what do most people do? They tend to slouch forward in their chairs. So this now has to be taken into account as well. So if sitting is 140, if we slouch forward and we put excess pressure that way, when we're talking about excess pressure, think of a disc like a jelly donut. If I squish one side of the jelly donut, the jelly is going to push out the other side. That's exactly what happens with the disc. If I put too much pressure on the front, it's going to squish out the back. That we don't want. That's going to put pressure on the nerve. That disrupts the nerve. That causes all sorts of an inflammatory response and so forth. So what happens is when we're slouching forward, we've now gone from a pressure of 140 to a pressure of 185. So you see we've now significantly increased that. And then, again, if you look at the chart, if we bend forward and actually were to add weight to that, we now shoot all the way up to 275. So we do not want to be in that forward position. We do not want to be adding weight. Same reason why if we ever ask you to lift anything, that's why we want you to bend at the knees. We want you to keep the weight close to the body. And we do not want you to bend forward. That's the best way to hurt yourself, would be to actually lift a heavy load while bending forward and then, in fact, even twisting on top of that as well. Now, let's take that back a step. Understand the same thing applies to standing. So although our standing was at 100 and our sitting was at 140, if we're maintaining good posture, is when we lean forward, now that standing, the pressure on those discs actually shoots up to 150. We've actually made that worse than if we're actually sitting up straight in the chair. So this is important to understand that. And then the same applies if we were to actually add a weight while we're standing and bending forward. Now we shoot up to a factor of 220. Now, again, the key thing here, you don't necessarily need to memorize the numbers, but the key thing here is to understand it's not just whether we're standing, whether we're sitting, how's our posture while we're doing that. If we're bending forward, we're changing how pressure is carried over the disc, and that's going to cause those discs to bulge at the back. That puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the nerves, on the spine, on that disc. That's something we don't want. Now, the last piece of important information in terms of this is now also look at the chart. Look at number 8 on the chart here. And what we're doing now is instead of sitting, bending forward, what would happen if we were actually bending back? You'll see the pressure now drops to 105. That's really just a little bit more than standing. And understand when we're doing that is we're no longer putting pressure on that disc on the front of the disc for it to actually bulge at the back. So if you are someone who sits in that chair and tends to lean back in the chair and actually uses the back support the way it was intended, that's actually nowhere near as bad as someone who slouches forward. That's important to know because a lot of people will have the best ergonomic chairs in the world and then they sit so far forward that there's no part of that chair other than the seat that they ever contact. And obviously, you're then not making any use out of any of those ergonomic aids whatsoever. So again, take all of this into consideration. It's not just whether you're sitting, whether you're standing. It's also how good your posture is, as opposed to that slouch as well. Now, the last piece of that puzzle is that's what's happening to the spine. Appreciate there are a whole bunch of other factors, whether we're sitting, we're standing. How's that affecting the neck? How's that affecting the shoulders? How is that affecting the arms? We do know this is important. This is an article I wrote more than 10 years ago now, and I'm sure you've heard the phrase sitting is the new smoking. You now take more time off your life by sitting for an hour than you do smoking a cigarette. And again, this is based on all the science that's out there. It's incredibly important that we do the right things to try to minimize this. Now, how do we actually make those changes? Well, overall, what we want to do is most likely you're going to want to change what you're doing. Number one, you need proper ergonomics. Number two is understand everything we just talked about. So get away from the slouching forward posture, whether you're standing or whether you're sitting. You can move, you can change. It doesn't need to be one or the other. That's why so many people, use the stand-up desks now. So feel free to do that. Certainly every half hour, you should be either stretching or just walking around just even for a few minutes or so forth. If you have imbalances or injuries in your own spine, think of what we were just talking about, is any ergonomic consultant simply tends to focus on the proper position you should be in. They don't take into account that it may be your spine that's all messed up. So if that's the case, see a good chiropractor, see someone who understands these injuries well, fix those injuries, fix those postural imbalances. That will go a long way also to helping you last throughout the day and not end up with all of the issues that most people do from sitting or standing in front of their desk all day long as well. If you would like a nice bonus on that, please look in the description below. I have included our sitting as a new smoking workshop. This is a half-hour workshop, but I go from head to toe, cover everything you need to know. We're offering that to you free. Just click the link in the comments below, and please make use of this. The more that you can actually do things to help prevent some of this come on in the first place, the better off you're going to be. If you found benefit in today's workshop, please like it, please share it. Share it with those that you know are suffering with some of the same things that you may be suffering with as well. A lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people are basing their health on opinion instead of fact. You now have the facts of the pressure that's going to be on the discs in the different positions. Plus, you now have access to the ergonomic workshop as well. Please like, please share, please comment below your experience. We don't need to live with this. There are a number of steps we can take. It does make a big difference. The next video you should watch is this one right here.